Warning. The following conversation may cause unusual side effects, including elevated intellect, random bursts of curiosity, and the sudden urge to question everything you've been told. Side effects may also include knowing too much at dinner parties, confusing your friends with big words, and an irresistible attraction to ancient mysteries. This episode is brought to you by Intellexa because, let's be honest, enlightenment pairs well with a sharp mind. Today, we invite you to be a torchbearer in a world of shadows, as we hand you keys to the mysteries that most never even find the door to. Our guest, explorer of the arcane, investigator of the unknown, Sir Bryan Bowden. Buckle up, this is a fun one.
Hello and welcome back to Brothers of the Arcana. As always, I am your host, Alex Aldea.
I am your co-host, Dave Ferrigno.
And with us today, we have Sir Bryan Bowden.
Sir Bryan Bowden is back. I'm back.
Sir Bryan Bowden is back for the third time, and third time is the charm. So I'm very excited, or we're very excited to have you. Thank you for being a part of the show, and thank you for being a sustainer of the show since pretty much day one. And we love the fact that you're with us, that you're an esoteric dude, and somebody who always succeeds in bringing knowledge, wisdom, and fun basically everywhere he goes. So thank you for being with us, sir.
I thank you guys for having me back as brothers, and I do have my bracelets on. Only joking, Alex.
I've since calmed down about that for the most part.
When I saw you last week, you were staring at them. So yes, no.
Well,
I understand that because
it's my OCD.
You want the best audio possible, and so I'm just keeping them to the side so I don't make any more noises. But maybe they make frequency that we need. Maybe sure. Can make frequency, vibration, so we can create a portal here.
Creating a portal is really what you want to do whenever possible. A lot of portal creation, a lot of things that are necessary for that to happen. So yeah, let's start off with you are a remote viewer.
Yes, sir.
I think we started to mention the fact that you and I have done a bunch of sessions together.
Oh, yes, we have.
You and I have, you've unlocked some things in my Masonic journey and life journey that are absolutely undeniable. And I really appreciated that. Now, tell us a little bit about how that cropped up for you. Like, what's the history of that?
So, everybody that ever had a past life, they're all like kings, queens, and whatever, and that's all crap. And I'm being blunt about it. Someone had to be the piss boy. Okay, someone had to empty out, the buckets of whatever, or the stable hand or whatever. I remember when I grew up. I mean, we didn't have this much paranormal. We didn't have this much, high strangeness or esoterica.
Sure.
We had select shows, and there was a lot of stuff with size. So, like, they'd hold the cards up with a star or wavy line, and you're like, well, I want to try that. So I would try it. We would try it with stupid things.
Mm-hmm.
But something I've always done throughout my life before I found out more about what I can do, I would get on an express bus from Manhattan back to my home in New York City in one of the boroughs, and you'd be bored. So you get on the bus and you're sitting all the way in the back, and I would play a game, turn around. So I would look at somebody in the front of the bus and concentrate on them.
Okay.
And I say, turn around in my mind's eye, come on, you want to do it, turn around. And sometimes you'd get people that were creepily like they felt that other people would swing around giving you a look like cut the crap. So that was one end of it. But I always knew things about I always knew things were going to happen in a lot of different cases. I'd see it if I was at rest. I'd have an experience that night. They weren't dreams. Later on, I discovered you have dreams and then you have experiences. And then when I really looked into it, after a paranormal investigation with this group, Roxville Paranormal Society, we went to Letchworth Village, which is not that far from where we are in Thales, New York. And there was my buddy Al Fanariga, myself, and a couple other people from this UFO, meetup group. which was basically like going to a live X-Files like center, like where everybody sits around in little school chairs and tells some whacked out stories. And
Why do they have to have little school chairs?
well, we were doing it in a library, so they all had those little brown chairs,
Gotcha.
school chairs.
Going through the card catalog.
No, we were just sitting there. We'd get some guests coming in and some really, the guy that was running it, the man and woman that were running it, they knew certain people because they were more groupies than into anything else. But they became friendly with these people. But at the end of the investigation, we went to a diner and we usually do a decompress, and we cool downs and we talk about certain things. And that's where Al revealed that our psychic, her name's Cindy Bailey Dove. She's in Arkansas.
Okay.
You want her on the show?
Love to have her on the show.
Well, I'll get you in touch with her. What she did at the time, unbeknownst to me, because I was new to this group, she checks out everybody that comes to the group because there are dangers involved when you do an investigation. Not only dangers for everybody involved in the investigation, but also for themselves. So you've done paranormal stuff too. You know that if you're having a cold or a bad day or depression, you broke up with your girlfriend, not a good time to go out because then you have a kink in your armor, and that's how they jump in. A lot of these spirits can jump in with you and take you, go home, take a ride with you. Then the next thing you know, you're fighting with everybody and you're doing stupid things, and then that's how it starts. So Al was explaining to these guys, she checked you out. You guys were good. There was another guy there named Paul. She goes and she checked you out, and she got a little tingle from you, which means that you are capable of more than you're doing. You're open to a lot of these ideas. And then Al goes, and then she got to you and fell off her chair.
That is funny.
And no, it is. And he said, she said, you have a tremendous amount of abilities, some that are different from her, more than her, but you keep walls up. And my response was, damn straight I do. I live in New York City. I'll put the club on it too. So after that, I talked to Al privately. I said, call up Cindy and say, I'd like to explore this. And I don't want to open up a Pandora's box. It's a Pandora's box. Okay. And she told me about these things and how to ground, which I kind of knew, but she reaffirmed it. She's technically my Yoda, but she's hotter looking. She's an attractive woman. And that is a plus.
Yoda's not exactly.
No, she is not.
I mean, those who enjoy Yoda and think he's hot, you have every right to.
That's teacher's own. Yeah. But so she said, you're psychic like me. And I said, no, I'm a remote viewer. Because I'm able to sit in places and
how is that not psychic though?
But it is.
It is.
It's the start of that. It borders on opening your abilities. It's kind of like your first piano lesson.
Sure.
Dun, 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 dun. You start with one finger.
Chopsticks.
Yeah. And then you go to two fingers. And then,
so remote viewing is the chopsticks of psychics. You've heard it.
No, it's actually a really great, and I don't want to quote this term too much because there's a program called the Gateway Program, but it's a gateway.
CIA gateway?
Yes, which I've done.
That's what I want to try.
And I will send you the links and you can go through the program and go through the program. And we'll talk about that too, but it helps you to get into a place where you start to meditate. We know how important meditation is in this esoteric journey as well as in a mystical journey.
Sure.
And then that begets, once you start using these things, you decalcify your pineal, and you start using your third eye more, that begets other things. Because we're all created in God's image. Man was created in God's image. And when I say man, I'm meaning men and women. I'm not getting into this year 2000 plus discussion. What about women? What about, we don't do that. And one of the reasons why
it's assumed we mean all.
Right. But
50,000 genders here.
Some people.
We're very progressive on this show, especially Dave.
Right. But what happens is the reason why you have that third eye is so you connect directly to the Lord. If you so believe in the Lord, whatever the Lord is for you.
What's the Lord?
I call that God.
Okay.
The ruler of all, the Alpha, the Omega, the ultimate. Some people now refer to it as source. Some refer to it as spirit. The natives, indigenous, call it the Great Spirit.
The Great Spirit.
Buddhists, I don't know what the Buddhists would call it, but I mean.
So we've had other individuals on the show.
Yeah.
Source might be different than God or, that supreme being.
I've heard that before too, but
what's your take on that?
Well, this is the whole thing, right? So I believe God is God. And in essence,
And Muhammad is his prophet.
Muhammad is listed, but he may be a prophet, he may not. Usually there are messengers of God, and Jesus is one of the messengers. Buddha is a messenger. They're all masters. They vibrate at a higher frequency above the 3D.
So this is the I am discourses you're talking about now.
A little bit.
The Violet Ray, Saint Germain, all the ascended masters.
All the ascended masters that have followed in the teachings, and depending on where you are in the world. Some people would say Mohammed, but there's more written in a multitude of holy books about Jesus more so than anybody else. With the exception of certain other, like Krishna, but there is always, even in the Quran, they mention Jesus many, many times.
Sure.
And so I believe God is God. I mean, what do you use Jesus at the time? Jesus is a messenger of God. We're all sons and daughters. And where some people believe Jesus is God. And I don't believe that personal. And I don't discredit someone's belief system. But I think source, and when I say source and I speak of source, I'm really speaking of the source of information that exists past, present, and future in real time.
Right.
That always exists. The Akashic Record.
Sure. The Akashic Record.
Akashic.
We can get into the Akashic Records.
Sure.
I wanted to ask you, so what's actually happening when you're remote viewing or when somebody's remote viewing? Is it a psychic extension into consciousness? Are we accessing, a different layer of space and time? Like, what exactly is happening? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, I will definitely walk you through the process. When it first started, I would sit there and I'm trying to quiet my mind. And I don't do well with guided meditation or being told what to do. So that's probably the reason why I don't like guided meditation.
Talk into your mic.
Guided meditation. And just for that, it takes. So the way it started was me sitting and working on breathing and focusing on a pin of light in front of me. And that you see in your mind's eye. And when I say your mind's eye, that is the space where we know we could see our own signature. We know the number 732. We can see it. We can see any color. We can see any places that we have experienced or been or existed. You can see your mother's face, brother, sister. It's just what's there. And I focus on that. And I said, I want you to, show me X. And one case was my friend Al's wife was having night terrors.
Oh.
So I said, Al, I always ask for permission. Your business is your business. Okay, I can read everybody in this room right now. And I don't have a subpoena or a warrant to do so. But your business is your business. And when you ask me to read, I will read you. You're giving me permission to tap into your energy. So what I did was, if it's all right with you, I'm going to go remote view and never been to his house, find you. Okay. So in my mind, my task is go to this man's house and find out what is the cause of the night terrors. So I sit there, I see the white light, and I focus on my breathing. I start to relax a bit more. And it feels like I am actually moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I move to a location and I come out. And the first thing I see is like this closet area. So I said, okay, let me see what's going on. I walk around whatever area I'm in. It looks like I'm in a bedroom. I see a bed, see some dressers and a window, but I see this closet. So I said, okay, I'm not finding anything here. Let me reset. So I go back, sit and try it again. And they took me to the same spot. And I do this several times. And I finally got it. over time after time, if you ask, what is the problem and where it's coming from, they take you directly to the problem where it's coming. So what I did was I said, there's something in this room, in this closet, and it was just closed enough where I couldn't make out the full details. It was dark. So I said, that's where it is. So I said, there's something in your closet, in the room near your bed. It comes out, and I drew it on my phone. And never been there, didn't even see the floor plan of his house. And he wrote, he was like, holy shit, dude, you literally just drew my bedroom. I said, well, where that piece is, you need to go in and sage and clear the house. And he's like, okay, will do. And after that, the night terrors stopped. And that's how it started. Now, as you start practicing these things, I've had a brother actually in Florida who was on 3 beards. This was great. Chris comes to me and says, my wife lost 2 of my sunglasses. She doesn't want to tell me, but, can you tell me where they are? So I said, okay, I'll remote view it. So my intention is to find out where the sunglasses are.
Sure.
So now that I've been doing it for longer, I don't have to really sit there too long. It takes me to where I have to be. And I just with remote viewing, you actually are transported consciously to the area, the location or the spot. You can see, smell, taste, touch, feel. You can even manipulate certain things in that area. Okay. And I've gotten to another level where now I can say, I need more information. Please help. Mm-hmm. And this, I don't know who the being is. It could be my spirit guide. It could be something they'll show me more or start to reveal a little bit more.
Okay.
So I saw what looked like it's a scalloped seat. It looks like an embroidered seat of a car. And it looked like it was blue. And kind of like on a go-kart back or whatever it is. And that's what I was seeing. And I said, it's near that piece, that back piece of the seat. Mm-hmm. And it's on the floor between 2 things. And then I said, I'm still looking for the other one. And the other one I didn't get right off the bat. I just focused on one. And when I told him, he goes, oh, we don't have anything like that. I said, you sure you don't have anything blue, like a back of a seat that's upholstered or something? It's in your garage, like a cooler, because I had a cooler that looked like that. No, man, we don't have anything like that. Okay. So then I go see, and I see his wife. I'm in the car in Florida, and some of the exits are the radius is off the chart.
Yes.
She took it too fast. I watched the glasses go, and it go right out the fucking window. And I go, they're by exit 46 someplace or whatever it was. And he's like, no way. So I came back to him and I said, yeah, your glasses flew out the window when your wife went around a turn. She didn't realize it went out the window.
Both of them?
No, just one pair.
Oh.
The other pair was in the garage behind the blue thing that I saw. So Chris swore up and down. No, I don't have anything like that. Well, let's go back three months after. Hey, man, I found those glasses. I said, where were they?
By the blue thing.
He goes, they were in the garage. Oh, right. And was there anything blue and upholstered? And I drew it. He goes, yeah, there is. It's right there. I said, so I was right? And then I said, well, go ask your wife what exit the glasses flew out the window. And he went and he goes, she finally admitted to it. They gave him a flip. So when I pass with something, I'm pretty accurate. And I don't ever do the pat on the back thing. I'm here to help you.
Sure.
Right. So, but it started out really kind of like, I got a sense, like I'd see this room, and if you squint your eyes, you kind of see like what I was seeing. It wasn't as clear. And the longer you do something
through a mirror darkly.
Yeah.
As they say.
And the longer you do it, the more you can do. And now it's, I have this other essence or being or energy. It's a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had situations where something took place. I'm like, I've got to tell them, and I got to know.
Oh.
And I said, but they need to know this. No. I said, I can't tell them. No, you cannot.
Oh.
And I said, they just say no. It's like a mom, like, no. And then what happens is, if I do tell you something and I say, the hell with you, I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They will do something to screw me up from telling you. Like, I went to go tell somebody something that X was cheating on Y.
Right. You mentioned this, yes.
And I was told, no, don't tell them. And I understand why. We'll explain in a second. And I told them, I said, X is on Y.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, really? And then the minute I told him, I got this, oh my God, the toilet's overflowing. That's what they do to you. They will rock your world because you defied them. And the reason why they don't want you to tell them what's going on is because we each have a path in life we must follow. And on that path, it's a 2-part journey. One is to gain knowledge or enlightenment, and the other is you need to go through certain experiences in your life in order to understand and know what you should and shouldn't be doing. Okay? If life was so easy for you, you would never learn a lesson.
Right.
Therefore, you'd be more susceptible to do some really dangerous things. And that's why they do what they do.
That makes sense.
So when you're doing this remote viewing, is it possible, are you able to penetrate, like other dimensions or even see other timelines that, like back in the past, maybe into the future, like, and from that end, does your emotional state and your energy play into it at all? Having a bad day, like you're just not going to be able to remote view properly.
Yeah, well, I think that if you're having a bad day, that is a huge barrier to any type of everything. Let me tell you, there's a lot of bad days. You've worked really hard, you're tired. Actually, it works better when you're tired because it's easier to get into that state of mind, which is almost like a theta. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And so you don't have to sit there and go, okay, let's go meditate. You get into a zone where you can quickly get into a state where you're vibrating in a higher frequency, and you can get attach yourself to the source where this past, present, future exists. That's how you're pulling.
Okay.
And that's where we were talking a little bit before about consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
The mere fact that somebody knows something or thinks of something, whether they put it on paper or they just in their brain, the sheer fact that they have it in their brain, it's accessible because it all exists at the same time.
Because of the Akashic Records.
Right. It's like, it's that one source. Consider, for the kids out there, it's the iCloud. Okay. It's a cloud like storage device, but this is on a celestial, spiritual, capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where it gets really, really cool. But I forgot where we were going with the question, but
dimension.
Yes, the other. Okay, so people are always like, go to Mars, go to this planet. I've been to the rings of Saturn there, and I've seen this craft actually mining the rings of Saturn. Several craft there. I've seen
Any craft mining the rings of Uranus?
I don't know. That would be a question you may want to ask your proctologist at this point.
It's very possible.
The Klingons.
Yes, only the Klingons. But I've seen, and I have explored with certain planetary items. Like I've been near the moon and the dark side of the moon. There is a city. I didn't necessarily want to go to different timelines or back in time, but I have gone back in time. I've seen myself with a specific person.
Mm-hmm.
I saw them in the Middle East, in the pyramids were there, full moon. We met at night. During the day, I was working on stonework. They were literally picking wheat, or that was their job. And we were together. I also have seen it in rural England when they had the thatch huts, and also as a Viking. So I've literally experienced it, and you can smell it, taste it, touch it.
Wow.
It's really bizarre. When we were as a Viking, I've been there when I'm shivering when I wake up. I'm physically cold when I wake up. So that made me question, is parts of me physically leaving and going, or is it just a biological reaction to the cold? Because you know what cold is. But yeah, you can do that. I went and did a remote view. Somebody I know was talking about the triangle of the Alaskan Triangle.
Huh?
And it's a big spot of things people go missing. Actually, the number one state for missing people is Alaska.
Wow.
Like 70,000 people a year.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is that a real number?
I'm almost positive it's anywhere from 65 to 70,000 people. And a lot of these people go missing because they want to go missing. Law enforcement, they're on the run, whatever. They want that homesteader lifestyle. Whereas others they disappear. Planes have gone down there. There's an anomaly there. So I said, I want to remote view that. What's causing the anomaly? And I will tell you that I did travel to that area, and it wasn't covered in snow. It was a beautiful green grass, wildflower area with mountains. And there where the triangle sits was, I can't express how big this thing was, but it was bigger in width of Manhattan Island. And it was made out, it looked like black polished marble. But when you go up to it, it was really obsidian, and it was so thin. It was snowflake in it because there were little sparkles that certain areas were smoothed down so much it acted like a window. And when you looked into it, you saw machinery moving back and forth. But there's a huge city within a city, and there is a lot of whatever the source of energy. I didn't get to go see it, but there is a source of energy there that creates a magnetic anomaly that is part of the problem of the disappearances.
So, Bryan, these machines or whatever you were seeing within this, was there any entities or anything operating them, or were they like?
There were what looked like human-esque people, but they all seemed to be kind of like wearing a unitard or like a giant piece of spandex, and their heads were exposed. And they had eyes, a nose, and a mouth, a little bit elongated, and they were traveling. So there was certain like areas where they were, traveling in what I would consider like a bus or a futuristic vehicle, carrying several of them. And there were multiple levels.
Short bus or
not a short bus? When you're in this subject, they think you're on the short bus, but no. But this was like a transport vehicle, well above what our technology is now. But that goes into another theory that I've had, where I believe we're one of several different entities on this planet that have gone to a certain point in technology before we've eliminated ourselves through stupidity and nuclear war or whatever. I think we're getting to the point with the nuclear war thing right now. But it was very interesting to see them, because I was just amazed. I was in awe, and that's underground. It was very monochromatic.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't like blue eyes. You didn't see blonde hair. You just saw these beings. And I'm seeing this by standing outside this huge pyramid. Again, like I'm on a segment of it, and the expanse of it is miles, like 10 miles wide. And that would also contribute to the fact that this seems to be an energy source. And I think it was drawing energy from the top peak, most, point of the actual pyramid. Where could it have been outer space? I didn't stay there long enough to actually see it, but I know that was what's caused the anomaly.
Now, have you ever looked on a map and tried to identify where this is actually located in Alaska?
Yeah, it would be the centermost point of the triangle.
Okay.
And the problem is there's too much snow. It never really clears up. It's still under that glacial type of covering.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Like we haven't explored our glaciers just like we haven't explored our ocean.
Right.
It was only recently we found a lake underneath the ocean. Think about that concept.
Wait, is this the thing where the Loch Ness monster goes from one side to the other, and he's actually
No. That was what I proposed.
Okay.
That there was a trench,
Right.
and the monster would go underneath, and then cut across and go through the Atlantic, and go to certain areas where there were holes to pop up on the American shores versus Europe.
Yeah. That's the craziest theory I've ever heard.
We've never.
I wouldn't say ever, but
No, I mean,
It's definitely top 5.
it's up there. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if you've had Andy McGrath on. He does Beasts of Britain, and they have used submarines. There is a huge amount of depth to the locks, and there is a belief of a channel system that connects them.
Oh, look,
They're seen in
I have no doubt. If you go to Lake Seneca, right, or any of those Finger Lakes, or those are all glacial-fed lakes. I mean, some of those are 500, 600 feet deep, maybe more. So, I mean, look.
In the middle of Lake Seneca, or towards the northern side of it, there's actually a submarine base.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So the question is, how are they getting the subs there? And they're testing. It's like
they're going through my portal hole. Like the connect.
Going right through that hole.
You know what? This
David.
is the problem with a lot of this stuff.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
CJ.
Go right through that hole. The problem is I have no means to test out the theory. I have no way of doing it. I just with cryptids,
Right.
I've come up with some theories on them, but I don't have a physical cryptid in my possession to do the tests
You
that I
haven't
would.
captured one yet.
No, I mean,
Bigfoot's not hanging out with you, even though he
No.
knows your name.
R. Kelly
Yeah.
style, where he's at the foot of your
knows
bed
my
kind of
name.
thing. Yeah.
That's my rap.
Now,
But
do you think that some of
I'll
these
bury you in the sand.
So do you think some of the folks that have gone missing were actually enslaved by whatever these entities are, or
I think no, I
think's happening?
think what you have is we get to a certain races of entities, or I'm going to use the term people, but inhabitants, because we don't know if they're human or not. They get to a point like they build all this technology and they do something where they cause the extinction of that race.
Oh, wow.
And some of them know something's going to happen. So what do? They do like Enki. They go underneath as the ant people, and they go underground under the earth. So there's inner earth people as well as
Outer Earth.
and extraterrestrials and interdimensional.
So is your theory that Earth is actually a Dyson sphere?
No, I don't believe it's Dyson sphere, but that's a nice theory. I like that concept.
The whole inner Earth idea, right? So that there's a whole other civilization.
I believe that
Slee stacks.
different. Yes, Lisa.
Right.
Chocolate, brothers of the Arcane.
Thank you.
Chocolate. But sorry about that. Great series, by the way. No, I just feel that something happens on the surface,
Okay.
which causes either a large portion to be exterminated, and others figure out, like, let's go underground, and they do something to seal it up, and they go so low that the water doesn't seep in and fill up the cavity, or whatever, or the sun doesn't come and obliterate it. You can have, we don't know what it's like. I mean, there's certain places in Mexico, I think it is, those caves with the huge crystals.
Oh yeah,
The crystal
the
cave?
gypsum crystals.
Yeah.
But it's
and-
extremely hot down there.
Exactly. But we don't know, is it just extremely hot on that level? Or if you go further in, you start getting a cooler, more habitable place.
I don't know, because you're getting close to the molten core of the Earth, right?
Well,
So
see, this is the problem.
okay.
We have scientists, and they make, and I'm going to say it, they're making assumptions. They assume, because in their head, well, we have to have a molten core, otherwise we can't spin and do. We don't know that. Okay, and I'm not going flat Earth on you guys because I'm not a flat earther. But like, oh, they go through the filament. No, I'm just saying that
Firmament. Yeah, that's interesting.
filament, firmament, whatever.
it is.
But did we ever in our lifetime, and the scientists out there, consider that there would be a lake under the ocean? Think about it.
But where is this lake exactly? It's been found for sure.
Oh yeah. There's images of it. It was done. I forgot exactly where it is. We'll have to look it up.
Dave, you hear of this thing?
Lake under the ocean.
Actually.
Yeah,
Lake
and they have images of it.
Titicaca?
It is a lake.
That's the highest lake, but then there's another.
This is like, it's insane. They'll show you an image of the lake within the ocean.
Yeah, they're saying the lakes are under the ocean, specifically called brine pools, which are bodies of very salty water that form on depressions of the seafloor.
So if we have that, I mean, they're discovering new species. There are species of aquatic animals,
Right.
that literally will change. They change color.
So
They
there's
light up.
one in the Red Sea that's over 1,700 meters below the surface.
But how does it? I don't understand how. I mean, it's part of the ocean. It's just a deeper trench.
It's
Or,
actually a lake, and then you have ocean on top of it.
So they're actually
so what's in the middle?
I
according
don't know.
so there's actually 1.4 or more than 1.4 million lakes and reservoirs worldwide.
Well, that I
It's-
believe. But
some
what's
of
that
the
got to do with the
images
price
are
of
great.
beans?
But my whole point is, we're assuming,
Right.
because science said so, that there's a molten core, and if you get down too far, you're gonna blow up because it's the energy used.
Yeah.
What if there isn't? What if it's an ice core? What if there's that Goldilocks zone between the surface? There's multiple Goldilocks.
Sure.
So we don't know. We haven't dug. Last time, I remember my grandmother telling me, go dig to China, and then the little Chinese guy came out. Hi, I'm Hugo. Yeah. But we haven't done this. We haven't explored technically, or it's been known that we have, the ocean.
Mhm.
We still have objects off the coast of California. Sure as hell looks like the Millennium Falcon.
Right.
Does it?
Oh, yeah. And some people are saying, and there's a base there. There very well could have been a base.
Sure.
What kind of base?
Not an extraterrestrial base.
So you're making like an Anunnaki type of theory here?
I believe the Anunnaki did come to this planet, but they're one of many. I believe there are other beings that have come to this planet over time. Look at Tartaria.
Okay. So this
I
whole
don't wanna go-
Tartaria thing, Nadine brought this thing up on the show, and we love Nadine, but I don't get it. I mean, like they'll look at some building that clearly wasn't made thousands of years ago, and they're like, oh, these are the towers that were the thing of something that was around forever. So
I will tell you straight up.
it strains credulity.
I remember before there was computers and before, you can just research whatever you want.
Right.
I remember going to the public library in New York, and you'd sit there, and a lot of times you do research for a book report or whatever it was, and you have to go out and get the encyclopedia.
Right.
And I remember seeing, without a doubt in my mind, images from Antarctica of columns and structures and what seems like something was living there. And now when you try to look it up, you can't find it. It's been wiped.
Yeah. So just circling back for a second, looking at this, they said by some estimates, nearly 120,000 cubic miles of fresh water lies beneath the seafloor.
Yeah.
And they're actually saying there's a focus from New England because there's actually pools of subsea freshwater, and even nearby is New Jersey. They said there's boreholes 60 miles offshore. They did scientific drilling. So,
Not just any drilling, folks. Scientific
Scientific
drilling.
drilling.
yes.
Which translates to our tax money went to go drill some. That's because all the science is controlled by government for the most part.
Well,
Yeah, and I can actually, not to...
shadow ban
I'm
us.
not going to get into conspiracy theories or anything else, but I actually have several friends that are meteorologists, and some of them work for the government.
Yep.
And
That means he came over here on meteors.
they were told that if they don't push the narrative of climate change, they'd lose all their funding.
And that's what happens. But this is the point, right? So we live in a society currently. It's all about control.
Uh,
So you have religious control. You have governmental control. You have individual party control. And it's It's all about control. You know, if extraterrestrials came and landed right now, they were, Richard Dolan wrote a book day after to, Disclosure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, people would go a little bit crazy. Why am I going to listen to you, government? You're full of whatever,
Well, we all know the government's full of it.
I know that, but if I'm just using an example. Extraterrestrials land. We're real, hi, we're from whatever. And at this point, it's like everything you've ever said to us is all a lie. You knew this the whole time. Why am I listening? I don't need your laws. I don't, there's no control. The churches go away, all the religious institutions go. And there's
the science.
Trust the science. Yeah, I don't want to go there either.
Trust the science.
Yep.
I mean, to the point where my uncle was trusting the science. He worked for the U.S. military. A lot of the technology we use right now, and physics and electronics, and pulses and all that stuff, he helped to create. He was trust the science. Well, when he passed away, my cousin was in the room with him, and she wanted to, like, why, he had all these questions. I know he got received by his mother and his father, but I couldn't ask more. So I asked a friend of mine, I'm going to pay you, just give her a reading. And my friend said, no, you don't have to pay me, no problem. Gave a reading. Okay. I told him about trusting the science. I said, don't trust science. Do the research, read them alone. And he was like, no, why would the government do that to us? Famous last words, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So long story short, she got she got a reading and connected, but she had a message for me. And he said, he wanted you to know you were right about everything. This is from her, and I said, what? And then she went into certain things which she had no clue about, but totally was about trust the science. This is where it's coming. This is what's going to happen. And he says, what are you waiting for? Get to Florida. So, there was a lot of validity to this individual reporting back.
What's on the dark side of the moon?
There's a city. There's a huge complex, and there are beings there.
What kind of beings?
I was going to say extraterrestrials because there's no nationality. They work with other beings that are mining the rings of Saturn. The moon is not the moon. The moon is not a planet, or it's like a Death Star. It's a fake. It's an object in space. It was never always here.
Is it a portal?
No, I don't think it's a portal. I think it's like if you want to talk about Dyson sphere, close.
So it's hollow?
I believe it's hollow, and there's a base within inside. I mean, I've seen things coming out. Actually, I took a shot of the moon when I was in Gettysburg this weekend. It was weird, and there are certain objects, and I'll show it to you guys right now. Certain objects that were there that if you zoom in on, there's a Delta craft to it. There's several specks. It's not on my camera. And there's an object that's there which totally looks like it has an engine on the back of it. I can I'll send it to you guys as well.
Sure.
So you can share it with the audience, maybe overlay it on top. But it was definitely a strange thing right there. Man, let me see where it is. Is this the one?
Speaking of the audience, while he's looking up, we haven't smoked cigars in quite some time on the show.
Here we go.
One of the reasons is that the studio usually doesn't let us, but we're in a different place today, so glad you can be with us.
That's
There and there.
but look, doesn't that look like there's an engine and there's wings?
Yeah.
Here.
I'm seeing something blurry.
It was done with a phone. It's not,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly. Have the best telephoto.
Right.
lens.
no,
That's somebody's watch.
that's not somebody's watch.
I don't.
But I'll leave it here. I'll send it to you guys.
I'll be the skeptic in
And,
the bunch.
This is what
Those two on that side, they're like, "Oh, it's a thing."
Yeah.
Hey, it's a thing. We found it. It's
It's
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot's flying.
It's good.
No. Well, it could be something. I don't know.
It very well. I mean, I'm standing in
sure.
in a parking lot at the Eisenhower Hotel, and no one else was there. I just thought it was interesting.
It is interesting.
And
very interesting.
I just wanted to take a picture and see like how well the new iPhone camera operates, and it's nowhere near a Samsung. The Samsung, what you see is what you get.
Oh, way better camera on the Samsung.
Yeah,
I have to
100%.
say.
So I don't understand.
I'm very sad that I'll probably never have a Samsung again. I'll stick to the iPhone, but the camera is not as good.
Get on your game, Apple.
I know, seriously. Come on, Apple.
Yeah.
This
I mean, I do like
League.
the fact that it uses LiDAR, so it makes great for investigations with Bigfoot. I can make 3D casts that I could actually print up in a 3D printer and actually get actual, like, the same footprint right there. But this is just one of the places I visited. There have been a couple of times where I've gotten caught in remote viewing.
So when you say you got caught, are you
I've gotten caught.
There's viewers looking back at you? Or?
Well, yeah. I mean, not necessarily a viewer, but individuals. Like we had someone, my partner in the paranormal met, and she wanted to join the group, said she was psychic, whatever. And every time, like I said, our psychic tried to read her, she'd block. We can't have. So I said, look, talk to her again and say, if you don't let her read you, we're going to come in and we're going to remote you in and we're going to tell you that, you can't do that. And she didn't listen. She wouldn't unblock. And I get it. Well,
was it fear?
I don't know what it was. I mean, some people say that they're good and they're nice and they're wonderful, but they're not. They have alternative motives or ulterior motives to do things. So I actually went to that person and I actually was in their room and they were getting dressed. They weren't naked, but they were in their undergarments. And she saw me in the full-length mirror and scared the crap out of her. And I said, I'm so-and-so, and you can't block our psychic. And she tried to put down a wall, and that didn't work. And I said, look, you want to be with the group, let them read you. If you don't want to be with it, we don't want to hear from you. And she, when my buddy went to contact her, she said, no, I want nothing to do because.
So did you fall out of the tree and get hit by a car with flowers around your neck?
No, McFly.
Well, so
you're my density. Yeah,
you're my density.
You're my density.
Hey, you. Yeah.
Damn hands off.
Get your. Yeah. Anyway, answer me this. Riddle me this, if you would, yes. Sir Bryan. How does one acquire psychic powers, right? Because, let me ask, so you mentioned the Gateway tapes. Yeah. The Monroe Institute is also pretty famous for that. There's another institute out in Big Sur that does, yeah, exactly. There's also the Silva learning method, the Silva Ultramind method, it's called. Bunch of other stuff, psychocybernetics. There's a bunch of other things that are supposed to at least get you started, right? Prime the pump, so to speak.
Yeah.
For that kind of thing, and then it sort of takes off on its own from there, right? But
yeah, I will tell you.
Yeah.
Doing still in the process of the Gateway. I haven't been able to finish it because I have certain individuals that are dependents upon me that I have to take care of.
Children
to be dad. Yeah. Bloodsuckers, leeches, whatever. Children, whatever, I love them to death, so I play with them. But by the time you're finished with the first disc in the process, you will be seeing things that will blow your mind and be very aware of it, and you'll be out of your body.
Well, let's talk about the Gateway tapes for a second. But I think I have some of the discs. I may not have the whole set, but there's different focuses, right?
Yeah, it's Focus 10. That's basically what it is. Focus 10 gets you started, and then what it is hemi-syncing. So you need headphones. You need the right ear in the right ear and the left ear in the left ear because you're going to be hemi-sync.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's really interesting. Women hemi-sync automatically. They use both hemispheres of their brain. And that's why
men don't use either.
Yeah, they just...
Especially if you ask a woman.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
We don't use our brains, period.
You don't use your brains at all. But the exception on the male side is people that are quantitative, artistic, musically inclined, mathematics. You need both of the brain cells, and you start hemisync. What this Force 10 does is Focus 10. It gets you breathing in a certain way. It shows you how to put a protective barrier around. Because when you transfer yourself from the physical, like we are right now, into this zone of Focus 10, you are transcending space and time. This is where we get into like why people take DMT while they do the ayahuasca. They put it away, and then they have these visions of these beings in case, right? So you get the jester, you get the what is it, the Joker. Some people see, I think with ayahuasca, there's an old lady or something.
Grandmother.
Yeah.
So the ayahuasca is either, for the most part, people either see an elderly, matronly lady, and you go to her house, and she sort of, makes your cookies and stuff like that. Or
Marijuana.
she's a huge snake.
Yeah.
Or she's a sort of a green lady, sort of like pops out of, not like poison ivy, but, like that sort of vibe. Like she's made of vines and the Gaia figure.
Yeah,
kind of.
Gaia figure would be great.
Yeah.
Right. Now, from that perspective, I guess, like we're talking about hemisync and with some of these other items, right? It's so. Does that also start getting into the tech-driven spiritual engagement, or is that completely different?
Can you give me an example of tech-driven? I use binaural beats. Would that be tech-driven? So yeah, it's kind of like it helps you to. I used to use binaural beats to help get into the proper wave or relaxed enough so I can get rid of the yelling, the screaming, the bills, the responsibility, so I can then technically vibrate at a higher frequency and move higher into the planes where a lot of this is really easily accessible.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, some of it does work, and I think a lot of it is scam based. They hear about something and they put on, they'll sell it to you. Usually you'll see stuff now. I've been seeing it actually on Instagram, and TikTok has tons of these devices. And it just happens to be the same device that if you put it on top of your head, it'll grow your hair back.
Doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Well,
You've got my attention.
yeah, you've got my attention. I think we got everybody in this room's attention. And I think some of it's helpful, but some of it, you don't know the long-lasting effects on it.
Right.
Because there's a product, it's called the God Helmet. So they put these lights in your eyes, and it's a sequence. And what it does is it kind of gets you hemisync and to a certain zone.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people that have experiences of it don't have good experience. And there's quite often they have encounters with extraterrestrials at that point too. And I think what it does, for the most part, it allows you to cut away all the BS between this world and the afterlife, which is also at a higher frequency.
Why would that not be a good experience then?
Most people can't handle life to begin with. You throw them an extraterrestrial and I took a couple of people up. They want to see Bigfoot.
Uh-huh.
So I don't remember, I wasn't there the whole year. I said, stay to the right path. Don't go left, stay to the right. And what happened was, unbeknownst to me, the path was covered over.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't clear. They had an issue, trees down, whatever it was. So they kept following the left path. Well, I heard the scream. And they came within 20 yards of a dog man, which is, for all intents and purposes, a werewolf-looking creature.
Okay.
It doesn't change or transform like that. It's not a human transforming into a monster. It just exists It was a young one, huge fangs, growling, like, get out of here. So I had to back him down to the car. And they were brothers, and they will not talk. I'm literally scared the crowd. They had no idea. They weren't prepared for what they saw that should not exist.
Wow.
And most people aren't. You know, if let's say, you know, one night, I'm just going to use Jesus. Jesus appears to you in your room and says, Alex, I talked to Dave. We need your help and whatever. You'd be like, okay, what the hell did I have for dinner? What mushrooms did they put on?
Why did he go to Dave first? I mean, geez.
Because Dave was freaking out, dude. Well, I'm just saying, when you have these encounters,
Dave had a cheese.
Yeah, the cheese. But I've had this. I mean, like, I've had experiences with, like, oh my God, that's a big, huh. You know, I'm going to look for it, but the odds are you go out 100 times. If you get 2, you're lucky.
Mm.
And then you get it. Or my case, we did an intellectual, an active intelligent encounter, AIEs, where we used our mind to call in craft. Some people call it CE5s.
Yeah.
But we had 130 people. I'm running the show. The chief of police was there. And we call in a craft that's ginormous, like acres wide. And everybody's like, oh my God, ooh, ah. And we asked it to do tricks, and it does tricks. And I'm still sitting there as an investigator or researcher, is like going, holy shit, holy shit, we just fucking making a po. Because they don't exist, right? And they shouldn't exist, but they're there. And I have 130 plus people, men, women, and children, and the chief of police that saw it. Matter of fact, the town person in charge of all the public events in the town, she called up my buddy and goes, what the hell did you do there?
Right. You were saying,
and
right.
he was like, yeah, he brought in a UFO.
Now, are these UFOs extraterrestrial or extra dimensional?
They could be also our own. We build them too. Tier 3B. I mean, there's a whole slew of them. There was a huge list that came out right now. The Aurora, I mean, there's a ton of different things. But I don't know. I haven't been able to ask that question. Excuse me, are you interdimensional or extraterrestrial? Because here's the problem.
I figure that's a good question to ask.
No, it is a good question to ask if you get to the point where you're asking.
And if they're doing tricks for you, you could have given them like a dog treat or something. And like, hey, a slice of pizza?
Yeah.
They must be very bored.
But yeah, they could have been very bored, or they were already abducting 10 people there, and they're like, well, Frank, drive out to the mountains, come back, and whatever.
Play me off, Sammy.
It's like, tell the anal probe another person. Get that guy.
We need more sperm.
You guys are going down a weird path.
Well, that's what people.
All right. So I wanted to circle back on something.
Sure, circle.
Talking about ayahuasca, psilocybin, like DMT, other people all describe seeing entities of some sort, whether, I don't know if they're ancestral, I don't know if they're some kind of interdimensional being, if it's just whatever. Like, what do you think those entities actually are? Because, like, in the case of ayahuasca, everybody usually sees either, the mother or the grandma or the serpent, as alluded to.
We're the machine elves.
Right.
That's the elves. Although
right.
I never saw the machine elves. I saw a triangle riding a bicycle, so that was a very different thing.
How did it pedal?
It had legs, but
little triangles.
I mean, what kind of triangle?
It had like
kind of
they had like those shoes that like third graders draw. But the weird thing is, not
like circus music while doing it.
No, but what was weird was it was a very happy little creature, and it would speak its own strange language, and I knew the language, and I spoke it right back to it.
Come on, Alex. Let's go get some donuts.
That's right.
Yeah. It's like the Willy Wonka triangle guy. But this is very interesting.
Well,
maybe that was your introduction so that you can understand, okay, cool. And now triangle guy changes into something else.
Well,
Here's-
I also saw mantids.
Watermelon Fred.
I also saw mantids.
You did see man.
I did see mantids.
Okay.
Well, what I thought were mantid insects, let's say, not so much necessarily giant. Well, our size, insectoids, and really what it was. I mean, they were very clear and they spoke pretty much. That's why I think the guy who made Rick and Morty really has seen stuff. Because no, I'm serious.
No,
because
I'm with you on that.
you know, like Kerbupple Michael and like all those like insectoid people that are like the police officers of the cosmos and stuff. They have that's on point. And there's other ones that are basically like almost like slave traders. Like the guy told me in no uncertain terms that humanity is a client race, it's a slave race, and you are sleeping now, and the minute you wake up, you're gonna be tied to an oar. And that's your existence.
And
you,
like
you're just on vacation right now. And the minute you wake up and you die, that's where you're going to be. So it was a very freaky. It was a very
honest boy.
Shitty vacation.
Well, it was
Your travel agent.
Gotta fire them.
Seriously. Well, like, here's the thing.
I had one where I woke up in a tank, like one of those, you know, like tanks in Star Wars where you're in water, and I had the thing. And I woke up, and it was the same kind of mantid type of people. They had suits on, like a doctor smocks, and clipboards. And it looked on, and he goes, "Oh, he's awake." And he goes, "Ting ting ting ting" on the tank, and then I was out again. So that was a mushroom trip.
What you're saying to me is that you may have roots as a manter, as a mantid.
Maybe.
Usually that comes forward. So some people that are reptilian, they will have dreams with reptilians. They'll have experiences with reptilians, and they're like, "Oh, it's my mind," or I had a trip and there was a reptilian.
Right. Aren't all Masons reptilians?
Yeah. I don't call it right. Yeah. We put on our good faces when we cash our $1 billion check.
That's right.
Yes.
Can't run a pancake breakfast, but we're
controlling the world. That 30, like even that thing in New York yesterday. It's like I saw all kinds of posts.
Oh my God.
really?
It's like 33rd floor. It's like, oh, the Masons.
Look at the way his body was placed. I'm like, give me a break. Like, okay.
See, this is how I feel when you talk about 9/11. All your crazy theories.
I mean, it's not a crazy theory. There's we don't want to get shadow banned, but we could certainly talk about that offline.
Yeah,
We already got kicked off of TikTok, so
Me too. I'm up to like
Which-
9th account.
Which, as Brian alluded to, it's like clearly you're saying something right if you're getting kicked off of TikTok.
If you're getting kicked off of these platforms, you're doing something right.
I guess so.
Terrible, because then you have to build up your audience again or whatever. But I believe in regards to these creatures that we're talking about, the different ones we meet, I think we have predetermined gatekeepers that when you go, past one border from human into the esoteric that we're doing right now, you have to pass a certain amount of experience and tests before they'll grant you access to the next part of the factory. And then eventually some people have to go through a whole lifetime of it. And I think they come to you as something you can relate to. So a lot of indigenous Native Americans or, North American Indian peoples. And even when you get to this, the ones, the Aztecs, the Mayans, or whatever, they had certain things that were around them that represented their gods that they would encounter when they took, ayahuasca or licked the frog or peyote buds, or whatever it is.
I like the frog. It is not pleasant. I promise you. It feels like you're literally being kicked. It's not good.
I have tons of them on my property down in Florida, and we have to get rid of them, otherwise the dog will die. But it's toads, and you squeeze them, and the white stuff comes out, and then the berries come. No, you get really sick, but it's part of a poison. But it's kind of like, the story of Moses going up to Mount Sinai and talking to the burning bush. Well, what was the burning bush he was talking to?
What's that stuff that is like the where it just spontaneously combusts from the dry?
It's acacia.
Well, yeah,
And what's in acacia?
DMT.
The highest amount of DMT. Not saying God wasn't there, but what sometimes you need a vehicle to be the intermediary of a higher power.
This is
God,
a Babylon 5 argument. You know, did you ever see Babylon 5?
Yeah.
Where they talk about so it's a great show to see, guys, if you get a chance. One of the creatures, they had a series of the called the Vorlons, and they would always wear these encounter suits so you could never see what they looked like. So they were beings of light, and then there was other beings of darkness that were the dark ones, basically, and they would fight each other through proxy. They would never fight each other. They would use humanity or other races, so lesser races, younger races, to fight their wars for them. But what was interesting is the Vorlons would come and basically incept different societies. They would be the angels of those societies, and they would look like whatever. And every time somebody would see a Vorlon, they would see their version of that Vorlon. They wouldn't see what it was. They would see the version that they thought.
It's kind of like pareidolia, right? So when you look at something, it's like, oh, that looks like an elephant.
Right.
That looks like a monkey eating a snake. You know, it's whatever your brain can, bear at the time or has to figure out to make judgment, like it looks like an elephant. It's not really an elephant. It's a cloud, it's vapor, and it's whatever it is. But this is the reason why, like with extraterrestrials, there are extraterrestrials, there's interdimensionals, there is light beings. I mean, there's inner earth, there's a variety of different species out there.
Well, talk to me about the dark stuff.
Like of the extraterrestrials?
Over the extraterrestrials, you said there's light beings. So light beings, there must be dark beings, I'm guessing.
I'm sure there are dark beings. I prefer them. I think those are the beings that go interdimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the beings that hang out in the fractured portions of timelines and universes. And it's very interesting. Those beings appear whenever there is a major earth change, lots of energy coming out, or the use of the colliders. So I'm going to go back to...
A lot of people talk about the colliders as being causing problems.
I'm talking about CERN, but the first collider was in the Illinois area.
Right.
And that's when they ramped it up and they immediately shut it down. Something happened. No one's talking. I'm like, okay, don't talk. But around the same time, Fiona Broom, I believe her name was, a paranormal investigator, came in and I said, I thought Mandela is dead, but now he's alive. What the hell? That's where the Mandela Effect was. Okay. So what I believe happened is when they start playing around with things they should not be playing around with, that's like giving a 3-year-old a Colt 45. I'm talking about a firearm.
Right.
Not like something Billy D. Williams would be doing. Okay.
Yeah, no, the cap.
Yeah, it's not a cap gun, and
it's not Moliker either.
In the process, if these are the timelines, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is it was a huge explosion and multiple timelines got hit. And then they kind of self-heal. But in the process, part of this timeline is now on the other.
Well, it's like a tree. They sort of meld and they grow together, right?
No, what happens? Yeah, so the start of our timeline, hey, there was a cornucopia on Fruit
of the Loom.
Well, the other timeline that now is coming in, you never had the cornucopia. So now we don't have a cornucopia. They'll have the cornucopia. But on their timeline, it's like, there was never a cornucopia, and now there's a cornucopia. Do you understand? Right. It's like you'll never, ever, look at your hands. You can't put them together perfectly. Like if you ever try to glue something back together, plate or whatever, there's all these little fine cracks.
Kintsugi.
Yes, that is actually an art form in Japan, which is very interesting. My Ron Murphy Jr., crypto guru, he wrote a whole book, and that was the cover of it, in the same principle of it. But in that principle, when you have these cracks, you have these beings that live in the space between these areas, the interdimensional space. And they're like, what's that crack? and they come out. Did you notice that we have a plethora of flying human in Chicago?
Jefe, what is a plethora?
See, and I don't know.
Oh, yeah. A plethora.
Explained it. Get my little mule. Joan Wilder. But what happened? So they run these experiments, and these beings start to appear.
Mhm.
The TNT factory in Virginia, in West Virginia, where the Mothman happened, they exploded stuff there. Now a Mothman appears. There are fractures in multiple dimensions in universes, and those fractures people come out of. If you started, and I started doing this, you ever hear of the Black-Eyed Kids?
I think you mentioned them last time. Is it like a Children of the Corn kind of thing?
Kind of, sort of. They're these kids that just like, they knock on your door, or you're driving, you see these two kids there. They have these blackest eyes ever, nothing else. Take us, let us in your car, and you let them in your car, and you never heard from it.
Who would let them in their car?
Welcome to America and some of the people.
I mean, there are some pretty dumb people in the world.
Yeah.
So let's be honest.
But so they have the Black-Eyed Kids.
I mean, look at how many crime shows there are.
Exactly.
Is it true that women that watch 48 Hours or stuff like that, like true crime shows to relax, are actually psychos?
I'm not sure, but when I had my heart attack, my buddy who was retired at the time, he goes, "Bro, go check your blood and see if they have any Visine in it or content." I'm like, what? I watched this show where the woman killed her husband because it mimics the signs of a heart attack. And I'm like, I don't think she's, well, maybe she, poor guys. So getting back to the Black-Eyed Kids, and wherever there were sightings of Black-Eyed Kids, and there's a lot of fear associated. There's fear associated with the Mothman. Another creature or entity that is on that side interdimensionally is the Hat Man or Shadow Man that appear in your bedroom and you feel paralyzed and scared. Okay? The kids, the Black-Eyed children, every university that these kids are near, they all have their own personal colliders. Every university basically has their own mini collider. So imagine that they're colliding and these little chinks are going into the armor and these beings are coming out and crawling out like, wow. And people get fearful of the dark and they feed off. It's like Monster Inc. Monster comes in, scares the crap out of a kid, adrenochrome, and then it charges their batteries. It's like going to the sizzle.
So the Witcher series, right? They had at one point in that particular universe, they had a conjunction of the spheres,
Right.
where there was a moment in time when basically the planets lined up and they had an actual where gateways sort of opened and other people, other beings, vampires, werewolves, they all lived in their own dimensions, were able to come in. Cabin in the Woods, the same idea, right? But they have them in boxes on the ground, but how did they come up with these things, right? How did they find them to begin with?
Even a
So-
great example is out of Stranger Things,
Yes,
right?
the upside down.
11 being like the experiment.
Oh, I guess you didn't watch the episode with my friend Penny L.A. Shepherd on it, who is the original 11.
No,
Did not. but
I'm going to introduce you
can we
guys.
have her on the show?
Yes, you can. And let's put it this way. When we saw, I didn't know the full story. I knew some things, but I know some things are personal and I didn't reveal it. So I said, please tell us. And what you're going to blow your mind. You absolutely blow your mind on the connection.
Wow.
It's, and when I say you will not see this coming, you did not see Nazi it coming. That's where we're going with this. It is insane. And she will prove to you she is.
Did you just say you don't see Nazis coming?
Can you ever hear this? I did not see that coming. Nazi. It relates to the episode. Go check out Third Eye Live. It's on my YouTube, Penny L.A. Shepherd. But you can also stay here and I'll hook you up with Penny and with some things about.
like that show if you want. We could throw it.
Yeah,
on the
if you want to do it, but I think you guys would just love to
Yeah, we'd love to have a chat with her.
Love to talk to her.
Yeah. MK Ultra, the whole night.
That's the funny thing, when you watch all these different shows, it's just like, they even always said Star Trek, like, even though obviously it's supposed to be the future and such, a lot of it was all based on science and theories that could come true one day.
Well, Gene.
It's part of the drip feed, I think.
Yeah, well, there is talk that Gene Roddenberry had an experience and was told to create the series.
Sure.
To bridge the, to make it palatable for humans that extraterrestrials exist.
Yeah.
And one human being has sex with multiple extraterrestrials throughout the galaxy.
Yes.
James Tiberius Kirk.
And just punches everything in sight, like punch him in the dick with the paranormal.
Exactly.
We're getting the t-shirts made, ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
Yep.
Where Dave will be punching paranormals in the dick.
You know it.
King Solomon's card. But the whole thing with these people, it's all about food source. It's not about, killing you. It's about draining you and your fear. Because I had an experience. I didn't even know this. I've never had that experience before. I was going to go to this meeting, like I told you about, where I met my buddy. And I didn't know what the meeting was about that month. My wife was sleeping. I shut the lights off. I stayed in the bathroom for a few minutes to adjust to the light so you can see in the dark bit. I opened the bedroom door, and standing in front of me, about 6'3", was the shape of another entity. It looked like a person standing there. Put the guns back. Went at it. Went, what the hell was that? Went and stepped in the room, turned to the right to go to bed, and there's another one leaning over where my wife was. I said, fuck that. And I ran right at it and it disappeared. And then the next night, there are no coincidences. It was a friend of mine, Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and she was talking.
Why do all these people have 3 names?
Shadow people. Between them, between the people and the paranormal, having 3 names and serial killers or assassin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get nervous when you're like, Jan Michael Vincent. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's probably killed someone. Or whoever.
He has people buried in his basement.
Yeah, exactly.
Or yard. Well,
Or both.
yeah, and the shadow people thing, Carl Petrie touched upon that.
Yeah.
He actually had a couple experiences like that. I think it was actually by William Patterson or somewhere he mentioned. But, the same thing, my ex-wife actually, I remember years ago, she used to wake up every night and she said there would always be a man standing at the edge of the bed just staring at her.
With a hat?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the hat man. It's the same entity.
Yeah.
They can come into dimensional.
What about Thin Man?
Are you talking about the ones that the kids make up?
The skinny man, the one that where you say his name a bunch of times or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, Red Rover, whatever the hell it was. Yeah, I think that's something that we have to watch out for, because esoterically, the words abracadabra, right? What it means.
What does it mean?
Okay, it's Aramaic. It's what I say, I create. Right?
Abracadabra.
Right. There's another thing is what I say, I destroy. So there's a reverse to that. As above, so below.
Right.
Where do we hear that before? So
Maybe that hermetic thing or something like that.
there may be, it's very interesting. Be careful how you think and what you speak, because you can create it.
Well,
And the example of that, and I don't mean to interrupt you, is I've actually experienced this on both ends of it. If something bad happens to you and you constantly, oh shit, I got a ticket and I was late to work, but bad begets bad. If you constantly think negative will happen to you. If you start thinking positive, which is difficult at times,
right,
because life can really suck, but positive things start happening. I just won the lottery. You always have that one person like, oh my God, I just won another $3,000 in the scratch off.
Right.
They always win, but they're always thinking they're happy and they're thinking positive. That energy begets positive energy.
Yeah.
What you give is what you get.
Well, and I think that's really interesting because there's so many people I talk to that I'm just like, keep your thoughts positive, keep that positive energy. And they're just like, I don't believe in that. That doesn't exist.
It does.
It's all bullshit. It's just like,
Well, one of our friends, Steve, that we were talking about, he said, something that really stuck with me. He goes, as you move higher, as your vibration vibrates at a higher level, you have to be more careful because now you are closer to the lag of your ability to manifest into the world is smaller. And so if you continue to think badly and other things, you will really see those creations come about. Same thing with thinking well. I had a friend of mine told me that there's this guy, Don Nance. I think he's down in Florida. I don't know if he's still alive, but
Sounds familiar.
he used to make ormus,
okay.
monomolecular gold. So it's, they had the whole idea of mana, what Tim Hogan would say, mana. He makes for about $100 a pop bottles of mana. And people and he said he had one that was, and this is sort of a Rosicrucian idea of a red liquid. It was part of the alchemical principles. And this red liquid was almost like menstrual fluid or blood. And he called it dragon's blood or something like that, the red dragon or something. And somebody drank it, a woman drank it. And this was before he knew better. And her life turned into a living hell because she was manifesting left and right, but she didn't have the discipline to understand what she was doing at the time. And it literally she opened Pandora's box and everything just flew out. It was crazy. So, be very, very careful with, and this, that whole idea of that which I put my attention on is that which I create more of. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and I actually think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like to your point, when you're getting to that higher level of vibration, I also think the negativity that's out there's almost negative entities that are trying to bring you back down and pull you back into a lower state of consciousness.
it's the crabs in a bucket.
It's like a weight, right? So there has to be some kind of, I believe the universe and everything is about balance.
Right.
But any opportunity, I believe darkness always tries to take a little bit more.
Yeah.
So they always try to move up on the scale or vice versa.
I think they're the check. They're the ones that make sure that you're ready to go forward before you can really, the sort of the guardians in essence, right? So
You ever notice this is, and most people don't pay attention to this. They just, the evil of this world, and there's a ton of it right now.
Yeah.
They tell you in advance what they're doing.
Right.
And there's a law to the universe that you must, just like God says, you'll be my witness. He has to have a witness for some reason. Evil has to tell you what they're going to do. And if you do not balk at it, your silence is consent. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And that happens all the time. They will, if you don't say no, their silence is you saying yes.
Right.
By not stopping it. And the mere word of no, I'm not going to do that, believe it or not, is a lot more powerful than you think.
well, they say, "Get behind me, Satan," right? So, and that whole thing where in other words, you're responding to that. You bring up an interesting point. And I don't want to get political at all, but I have a friend, and I had some very deep conversations with him recently about he's Palestinian, and for him, his universe is falling apart right now because what's happening to his people, the starvation, the issue, the death.
Well, we don't know where. Yeah, both pretty sure he's no longer.
Well, so and that's kind of it. And he said, "Well, I need allies right now." And in my mind, I'm thinking, "Well, I'm not a political person. I'm not going to go out and wave flags and protest and do these things, take these sides. I'm a spiritual person. I'm a man of peace for the most part. I don't choose to get involved in these sort of political things because a lot of it is a spectator sport. Like, can you really change it? I mean, yes, Gandhi changed the world in essence. So one person, I suppose, can change the world, but you have to be on that level to be able to do that, I think.
Well, I think you can change it. And if you look throughout history, I mean, you've had some pretty dark people change the world in negative ways, right?
Oh, without doubt.
But the long lasting effect of people that really want to make change for the better is when you do it yourself. So it's great and I'm just saying, I don't know this individual,
Sure.
It's great that they wanted allies in their cause, but you allowed what to take place. You didn't fight for what was against. And I'm not trying to get political, but there are groups within groups that cause you to be where you are right now.
Sure.
And I'm not saying the opposite that is doing some nasty stuff too. And that there's groups within that group that are like, we don't want to do this stuff anymore. There was a point in time where Jews, Christians, Muslims, and others,
Druids and so on,
lived peacefully.
Right.
Okay. But you have to make choices. And like, how is that benefiting you? When you are calling for the death of somebody, or when you're trying to put something negative out, I'm not even get political. It's not helping you.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
That's also like karma, right? And
Yeah.
people, like I always tell people, especially, you go through a bad breakup, somebody wrongs you in some way. It's like, don't wish bad upon that person, because you're going to get that back 10 times over.
Right. So I had a buddy, great guy. He's just one of these really good-looking guys that women just love.
Sure.
And I couldn't, like, he's a good-looking guy, but, I didn't think he was anything that's special. I mean, I've seen women walking, actually, credits were hanging outside.
Yeah.
So having a cigarette one night, this woman is standing there. She's like, I'm going to Carnival. And then she stopped, like, damn, you got blue eyes, beautiful blue eyes. He got her phone number. He was married, right? And his wife was one of those people that were hitting on him and doing things with him. So she was constantly nervous that he was going to be hit on or cheat on, right? Well, you just, you took the poison too. Just because he put a ring on it didn't mean, but he wasn't doing anything, right? So it didn't work out, because if you're constantly bombarded by your spouse saying, where are you going? Are you cheating? You can't live a life.
Right.
No.
So it didn't work out, right?
Here.
Exactly. So he met somebody at work, and she said she was like 10 years younger than him, and whatever it was. And they were together, weren't married. They had a child. And then the next thing you know, she threw him out of the house. She played him. She was him. And he's upset. He's crying to me. And I'm like, brother, I said, I feel your pain, but you realize this is what you've done yourself numerous times. It's called karma.
Yep.
Well, it hurts. And I'm like, well, other people got hurt by you too. Okay. Yes. You don't see your son. She was like 10 years older than him. And it was really, she did a good job. Excellent job in the role. The Academy Award, right? But he now understood what happened to him. It totally changed his whole life. And actually for the better. This is why I was saying, remember when I said, I see something happening? I saw somebody getting married. I knew who she was getting married to. It was me. Okay? And I wasn't expecting to see that. And I'm like, holy crap. And she kept asking. I said, well, initially I saw a wedding, and when I went back into it, I'm like, it was me.
Wow.
And I said, I'm like, should I tell her? And, because I was thinking, and the voice said, no. And I said, well, she's asking, I learned now. Could I tell her it's a man? Yes. Can I tell her it's, this person has a child? Yes. I couldn't tell her everything. And at one point I just blew up. Things didn't work out. And like I said, I went and I explained things to her, because there was part of that was she thought it was this one person. But that one person's a lie. And how did and yes, I had an interest in this person, but not enough to play the game where like, oh, don't marry him, he's terrible or he's dangerous or whatever. No, I don't play that. I'm not here to convince you to be with me. I'm worth it. I don't need to convince you. I don't need to chase your ass. And you guys are the same thing. You don't need people. You are worth that person being in your life. But when I wanted to warn them, the entity said no. And I eventually got why. She has to go through that to experience that everything he was doing which I was kind of leaning into and advised her, don't do this. She's going to finally get the answer like, oh, I screwed up.
Well, yeah, the person needs to learn the lesson themselves.
Yeah. And that helps you change. You're on the right path.
Well, I appreciate that. Dave, do you have any final questions? And
Well, I was going to circle back on the Akashic Records. So we mentioned that very early on in the show. Obviously.
Sure.
Would you say the Akashic Records are, is it truly a library of all souls and, all the events in their lives, or is it more like a metaphor? And, have you seen the Akashic Records yourself? Do you understand them? It's like, are there gatekeepers, and, are there any entities or things that can manipulate?
yeah, how does it work, basically?
Okay. So this is how it works. Every night that you go to sleep as a human being and you're resting, when you get to the REM stage and past that, where everything goes away, all the distractions go away, like these lights, these cigars, whatever. What happens is you upload to the Akashic record. And the entities that are involved and possibly your guides or whatever, they need you to be on a certain path and need to do certain things. They will download that information back into you. Like, okay, coming up, you're going to be doing X, Y, and Z. And they give you the baby steps to get.
Mm.
Because the ultimate goal is to get you to realize what mistakes you're making and how to make yourself better and making the world better. Okay? But sometimes when they do this, they'll leave you with a little bit of an idea. And that's a dream. Like, it was Alex and Dave. I think they were on ponies, but I'm not sure. And it's unreally clear. It's just a weird dream to me. Then, if they really need your help to do things, because I think you're a light worker, Alex is a light worker. We're aware of our condition, which is why we're looking into Esoterica and all these strange things. They may have you do something, and that's an experience. And when you have an experience at night, every detail's there as if you experience it. Like we're sitting here. We were at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Dave was on the right side, Alex was on the left. Alex was wearing a blue shirt, he had a little, and we were smoking these cigars, and you could tell exactly what cigar it was. We had these microphones, and one was red and green and yellow, and you're doing something.
All right, everybody, just so you're aware, we had some technical difficulties in the studio. Unfortunately, we all came straight from work, and, we basically, lost our feed there. So we apologize for the technical difficulties, but we just want to continue the conversation with Sir Bryan here. So Bryan, and I know we left off with the Akashic Records. We were getting into consciousness.
Yeah.
So let's just kind of start from the top there, if we could.
Sure. So we were talking about a bunch of different things, but I believe that the Akashic record is like the cloud. And actually, my experience with the Akashic record being there, I've stated before, there's a difference between dreams and experiences. Dreams are vague. Experiences, you're actually all the details because you're experiencing it. And I had an experience where I kind of walked out of a building or something, and I was like, where am I? And it looked like I was in the clouds. And it was really weird. It was looked like polished marble with some grain in it. Beautiful place. It felt peaceful and beautiful. And it was like a whitish light, like an LED white, where it's so bright, but you can still see. And it seemed like there was some clouds in the area. And I was on top of this plateau, probably connected to a building behind me. I did not look behind me. And I could see a building ahead of me, and then a building to the left. And I wanted to go to the building to the left because I just had this knowledge that that's the Akashic Records. That's the great library that we've all been looking for. So I go down the flight of stairs and I get to a landing, which is grass. And then I walk across the grass and I go up another flight to a marble landing. No buildings there. Then go back down another one, cross to the next one, go up. When I got to that one, I could either go straight up to another building, or I turned to the left. And I turned to the left, and I headed to the Akashic Records. And I was able to get to the top of the stairs and step inside. And when you step inside, first of all, there's columns there. So I think that the problem was it the Pantheon but it's the Pantheon, right? So there's all these columns. It looks very much like that. And you go in, and it's really weird. The lighting is weird. It's almost like as in the center of this building, this area, seemed to be like a source, like an energy. I can't explain it, but it seemed to be lighter, like something was alive there. And all along both sides are like rows and rows and rows of like bookcases with these old books in it. And we're talking like Gideon's Bible old, like probably older than that. And there seemed to be a map or something in the center of it on the left-hand side. And I'm looking, and I took a couple of steps in, and I was like trying to take everything in. And when you would look to your right, it would almost like light up that one area, like automatically, kind of like those automatic sensors you have in places. And I was going to go a bit further, and I kind of got something on my back that said, there was something open by another book, but it said, you're not supposed to be here yet. So I said, okay, I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't know where it was, but I knew it was important. And what was interesting is there was a book or two open on these stands. And it's really weird. If you look at it on the side, like it looks like there's something there, but it's mostly whitish or lambskin color, that type of thing. Vellum. And when you look at it, it kind of lit up, and the words, it was really weird. It's kind of like when you're actually looking at the document, things start to light up, like glow. So like they use a pen or whatever they're using to do it. And I was trying to peek, but they kind of pushed me out of the building. But one of the things that was weird, in the distance, the place I didn't go, I saw these beings that were wearing like what I would call tunics, like look like Roman, togas. And, there was two individuals. One looked like more of a male for some reason. I just knew it was a male. The other one looked a little bit more female. And they were both covered over the top. So it's not like their, genitalia was exposed. And then I heard something to the effect of, you have a little more work to do. And that was it. And I kind of like, all right, I'm back to where like reality. But if you asked me to do the details on it, we sat with a sketch artist, and I'm an artist, but I don't do stuff like that. I can give you details. I mean, I can give you I can see the wording right now. It was very video game-esque in the writing. You remember the game Myst?
Yes.
Okay. There was one point where you would look at the pages, but you'd have to move your hand over, and then all of a sudden it would kind of light up and you can reveal itself. It was like that. But there was almost like something alive within the building. And that's where we get to the consciousness aspect of it,
I
right?
was going to say, do you think the building actually has its own consciousness in a sense, or is that actually just the source or God? Because I had a similar experience. I have actually done it was the Hemi Sync. There's an Akashic Records, meditation that you could do with the binaural sounds. When I did that, I actually traveled to a spot where I saw the similar type of thing. Like I saw those big pillars and columns.
Yep.
I entered into this huge room, and it was like just a hallway of books that just went on forever. And I was like,
yeah.
But to your point, there was this feeling and this sense of like the building was almost alive, and you could feel that. And it was interesting because I actually grabbed a book off the shelf and opened it.
Of course.
And I started flipping through the pages, and then I basically was like, I got to a point where the page was blank, and I was just told, no, you can't see the rest. Yeah, you need this.
Right. I think you get to see just so much before whoever the gatekeeper is, No, when they said, no, you got to stop. Was there physically someone there, or you just heard it like audio wise?
I heard it audio wise, but I also felt like something almost like grabbed me.
Yeah. Okay. We're on the same page.
I didn't see the being, but to your point, later on, because I kind of started trying to wander around, so to speak, and I saw the same type of thing. I saw people wearing like togas. It was almost,
Okay.
to me, it was almost like Greek gods or Roman, mythical
Exactly.
gods, where it's like this very scholarly, like just, I'm Zeus, I'm whatever. And
Yeah.
it was kind of
No,
like that.
That is like literally like I had that Roman Greek vibe to it. And I'm like, am I back? At one point I thought, am I back in time? Did I
Sure.
just time travel back? Or when you get to heaven, wherever the Akashic Record is, I'm going to say it was heaven, and it was very heavenly in my opinion. There was a positive gold, some things, it was white, but there was also like this bronzish golden feel to it. It felt really important. And I'm like, are we at a toga party when we die? Like, like, where do I get my red cup? Like,
Where's
stand there. Where's my red cup? But I would, I haven't gone back to it. And I do think that we had a conversation after we had the technical difficulty. There was another person there, a brother of ours, great guy. We kind of got into a deep conversation, and I don't disparage anybody's belief system. You believe in what you want to believe in, but I do have a separation until I find out for sure. I don't care what's written down between God and Jesus, even though Jesus did say he's God. But, this way I don't want to get into it, like that fight with people over it. But I think that we all have this, all of us, like what you guys are doing and what I'm doing and the light work that we do. And when you punch them in certain areas, you're doing light workers' work, which is God's work to battle evil and awaken that spark within each one of us. And I think, the building was alive. I don't know if it was, if it had a consciousness or if it was a part of the, God, because God is everything and all, technically. So God could be that building and the caretaker of the records. But according to, if you look at the book of Enoch, who's God's scribe, there's other scribes associated with God, to managing things. And they probably would have gotten a lot of trouble, I guess. Sir, there's this guy, Dave and Bryan here, and they're looking for a new library card. We don't have a library card.
They don't have their solo cups with them.
Yeah, they don't.
They got to play beer pong first.
Exactly. Against me. Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
And they never miss.
Yeah, they're like,
All right, we're good.
Damn it. All right, yeah, it's a couple of drinks. But I think this is where, I've been doing a lot of thinking, and we were discussing prior to the show, like, is there something you want to talk about? And yes, I could talk about anything and everything, but because I think there's a common thread through all these paranormal disciplines, even the esoterica, sound, frequency, vibration, and resonance. And it's interesting, when people say, well, there's nothing faster than the speed of light, and you can instantaneously say, you're wrong. And then when they go, what's faster? And you say thought. So that's where you get into consciousness. Is thought a gateway to consciousness, or is thought part of consciousness? And if thought is faster than light, then consciousness has to be 100 times a minimum faster than thought. And I think, is it when it, that idea that appears in your head, like, by Jove, I think I've got it. That's when you connect. And are you connecting to source via your consciousness, which is also part of the, third eye. So it's a weird area, and it gets into philosophical type of discussions, the allegory of the cave, and isms and treeism and Alexism. And, you know, because Alex, you know, I mean, you guys both do it. Alex always throws out a lot of, you know, the philosophers or the higher end thinkers in the past. And a lot of this stuff, you know, I've been thinking about this, like, it's not like, does Bigfoot have a soul? What's Bigfoot's consciousness like? And is that the reason why we can connect to them mentally? I haven't had telepathy type of communication, but I don't think we're using our brain to the fullest point where we're unlocking that consciousness door. And I think once we can do that, and once we can use our consciousness to connect to things that are also inanimate objects like solid surfaces, metals, and then we'd be able to know how to, like, oh, that's the doorknob, vibrate higher, vibrate at the 936 frequency, and that unlocks things in your conscious. I don't know what you guys, you know, your opinions of that is, or have you, even if you've thought of it, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately because I'm trying to hook you up with two people, Ron and Lourdes, who do transdigital seance, you know, experience. And where you in real time with white noise being generated, no radio signal, no Wi-Fi signal, you have a communication with individuals that are not technically alive. And you'll be surprised. They're like, hi, Dave. You know, you may get they say it to me all the time. I joked around one night when Ron and Lourdes were doing it on Facebook. And I joked because I was bored. It was like, you know, I texted in or messaged in, what are the lottery numbers? And I jumped in. And as soon as I jumped in and I was in the live view, it said Bryan Bowden. It said my name this weekend. They were there at Gettysburg and it said, hi, Bryan. And I was like, hi. And you get a real-time conversation. So I think that's really interesting. You know?
That's really interesting, and that's right up my alley.
Oh, you're going to love this.
I know Alex is not the big paranormal guy or anything, but that's certainly my realm. And
but it straddles what it really is part of what Alex usually does.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's just, I think it's a different perspective, and he doesn't look at it that way.
Yeah. I mean, like, think of it this way, right? So if your consciousness is what's the element that we're all failing to operate properly, right? That helps you to vibrate frequency. Then maybe in Alex's land, you know, with some of the past masters, they've used certain vehicles, peyote, ayahuasca, whatever, to crack the shell so they can get into the and then they connect, because then there's nothing to inhibit you. So I think Alex having an experience with you guys, Ron and Lourdes, as well as you're going to love this. He may be different. He may be able to ask questions to Rumi or to Socrates or the masters and say, can you please give me an answer? Now, technically, we don't know because we can't see, and we're relying on a white noise generator of multiple spectrums. But who's to say it isn't?
Well, right. And nobody can prove otherwise. It's not.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting thing, because anytime you do a seance or some kind of communication with spirits, you don't really know who you're speaking to. And could it be a being that's, trying to mislead you or whatever else, of course?
100%. Yeah, that's your worry for the most part.
Right. Of course.
You know, is this Grandma Sadie?
Yeah.
No, it's, but what's interesting is you got to hear this. There's different languages and accents involved. There are male and female, voices, and they do respond. It's not like rapid fire, but there's something to this. And they've been looking in how the conscious mind works, and does the conscious, I don't think the conscious dies. I don't think the soul dies. I think soul is the spark, the energy that gives you the life and activates your consciousness so that it forms in one. I'll give you a great example of where, which is really interesting. So in really religious Jews, they do something called laying tefillin. It's very, very to do that. It's like a telephone to God for the most part. And then you'll see them, they wrap themselves a couple of times around certain arms, and they put a tefillin box on the top of their head over their third eye. And what they do in essence is connect brain, body, mind, heart, soul. And then they pray and they have an interaction. Who's to say that they're not just, that's the key to for whatever reason, open the third eye and the gateway to the consciousness so you can actually connect to God, because God would be the ultimate consciousness. It's a little bit, yeah.
Fascinating. And here's a question. I don't think we ever discussed this. And we can get back to consciousness.
No. This is I'm good.
But I was going to say, I've always felt like when I've done paranormal investigations and used various, there's so many different instruments you can use.
Yeah.
What I was always told by certain mediums and other individuals was, if somebody was an older entity that, maybe they died 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago, they couldn't manifest as much energy. So it would take them kind of longer to respond sometimes than somebody that more recently died. Now, I never really bought into that, because I'm just like, I would imagine if they're able to communicate with us, it's just like, there's got to be some way they're manifesting this anyway. But what's your thought on that?
I'm just thinking about the old long distance plan versus the local calling,
Call me after 9.
Yeah. Call me after 7. I put you in friends and family. Plato, I put you in friends and family. I don't think it's that they don't have the energy to do it. I think they have. I think of heaven and hell as a pyramid. Oh, this is going to be good for all the conspiracy theorists, right?
Oh boy.
There you go. Right. I'm going to do that. So it's a pyramid, and you cut, depending on how good you were in your life and how karmatic your life was, you had good karma, you go higher up in the point, and you want to be up top. And when you're up top, you've resolved anything you should have resolved, and you don't have to reincarnate. And I think that you're so far away from having to communicate to not a lower species, but move vibrationally down, I don't want to take the elevator down to 42 and walk over, I think that may be a little bit thing. You're beyond it, but I don't think you lose the energy. I think you're just beyond it in your heavenly scale. It's super interesting, and it's upsetting when a baby's born and they die immediately or within a certain time period. And it's upsetting. I mean, especially if you're parents and what have you. And, but it's almost like, just before they were reincarnated into that baby, they were up there and hey, you're doing really great. All you have to do now is be born, and then we're good. And then they have you, be born, go through all that trauma, and then you pass away, killing your parents who were there. But that's part of their journey from a previous life. They have to deal with that, and then you go back up. You move up the totem pole. I think you can constantly move up to be better, and then better and better. You're given this opportunity to. Do you want to go back? Or do you want to hang out, and whatever? Well, you want to get to level 1. You're on level 18 right now. All right, I'll go back. I'll sign the soul contracts. And the more you do, you move up. Oh, congratulations. You moved up 3 levels. Now you're in 15. And then some people just no, I'm good. I'll just stay here. You got the all-you-can-eat food bar. I'm good. And they're just comfortable where they are. They're not ready to evolve. But I don't think they lose energy. And I don't think they, I don't know. Everybody, if you ask 3 mediums, you're going to get 17 answers.
Sure.
It's a tough call, but I mean, I don't think it's, yeah, I'm with you. I don't think it's valid. You know, I think they're stretching at something.
Yeah,
Although maybe they know something we don't, you know?
maybe they know something we don't. That could be the case too. And like,
Yeah.
I just feel like, you know, I think the bigger thing is, was it a human? Was it, you know, some kind of other entity that is there and then, you know,
Trying to persuade you.
fly for this? Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say, but the other thing I wanted to ask regarding the Akashic Records, and we were
Sure.
remote viewing, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
You can remote view the Akashic Records?
Yes.
I think so. Oh, yeah.
So you don't think there'd be a block or anything?
There may. You may be able to see it at a distance, kind of like being at that fence by Giant Stadium, and you're like, "We're going to the concert," you know, like that. I'll tell you what, with remote viewing, I said it to you guys earlier. I've gotten caught. I went in when I first started doing it. I called it remote viewing, even though the psychic for a group said you're psychic like me, Cindy Bailey Dove. She wasn't feeling well, so I said, if it's all right, I'm going to come in and, you know, try to heal, you know, send you healing. And when I stepped in, not knowing, I've never been to her house, I never saw her in person, none of that stuff. I stepped into this room and I literally was in her granddaughter's 4-year-old's room, like stepped into the window onto this bed, and I'm like, "Hi," and she's looking at me like, "Who are you?" type of thing. And I said, "I'm Bryan. I'm here to help your Nana. You know, tell Bryan was here." You know, "Okay, can you do that?" And she's looking at me like, "Get out of here," type of thing. So, so I go in and I help her and I discover what's going on. And I said, you know, and then I leave. And the next day, our psychic Cindy goes, "You were here last night, weren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I was." I said, "How did you know? Did you feel it?" She goes, "Well, yeah, I felt a little bit of that, but my grandbaby came in and said, Bryan told me to say hi." I was like, okay. I've been caught before, and you can get caught. And the government's used psychic spies before to block things. This was fairly recent, within the last year. I don't know what was going on. I think I was doing the gateway, one of the gateways, and somehow I was in a jungle, and I came out. It was on top of a ridge, and I could see down into like a desert landscape. But there was like one of those, I don't know, I'm going to say castle-esque type of compounds that I guess you see in some of those, you know, Arabian Nights movies, you know, and on each corner there was the church type of, I forgot the name of it, but it was, you know, 2 facing you, then 2 in the middle, and then on the other side. And in there was these beings that had like hoods on and just standing there. And when I came down the side, the one on the right and the other side of the building, they both went like this and they turned to me. So I was like, I knew it was an important place. I don't know what was in there, but I had to get out. And so it's weird when you get caught. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that could catch you off guard, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it's you know, they do that purposely. The Russians were doing it. They were using, it's almost like you know, like hiring a security guard. Like if they don't want you, you know, psychic spies coming in there, you can put them into the area and go, you need to go, so they get caught.
Yeah, so I would imagine there's probably quite a few of those individuals.
Oh, yeah.
You know, are blocking Area 51 and, you know, some of the other black sites around the world that people don't even know exist.
Yeah, I mean, like Area 51 isn't as big as or important as it is anymore. They moved a lot of that Groom Lake and they moved. There are other areas that are further away. It got too much attention. So, but it's smoke and mirrors when it comes to that and the disclosure movement, which extraterrestrials will disclose it. No one else is going to do that. So it is what it is. But yeah, I think
I guess we'll see how that goes. And just last thing before we wrap up.
Sure.
You know, I know recently Dan Rivera, you know, obviously paranormal investigators, I was on tour with Annabelle. I know you were just in Gettysburg.
Yeah, it was.
What were your thoughts on that whole situation? Do you think there was any coincidence there? Or?
I didn't know Dan personally. I know some people that knew him. Seemed to be a very good guy. There are objects that are possessed and haunted. It's a fact. And this doll was notorious for bad stuff happening. So, I mean, he had several heart attacks from what I understand. He very well could have, you know, went through something. And, you know, because Annabelle was in his possession. And actually, if I'm correct, and I may not be, so please don't kill me. Apparently Annabelle disappeared from that room after he passed away. Now, that's weird, right?
Yeah, it certainly is. If that's the case, I don't know if it's true. So, you know, I think, you know, that could be just also a quote unquote ghost story. But
Yeah.
you know, if it is the case, then that's certainly creepy. And
Well, yeah, I'll tell you that I got certain things from my dad. He didn't have the best luck, jewelry wise, and every time I wore it, something, you know, wasn't the greatest thing that happened to me. So I kind of stay away from things if I don't. It's not that I jump on board and I believe everything. It's like I don't want to be bothered by possessed objects or bad luck, you know, vibes. I don't like other people's. Well, you know, the place down in Florida. There's that a church where they have used furniture, you know, all the furniture.
Right.
I forgot the name of the organization, but and some of it's gorgeous, but I believe that if it's in a negative home and there was fighting or illness, I think some of these objects get charged, you know, and then, you know, you bring it in there, you're trying to give it love, but there's so much junk in them that it affects your relationships. So I'm like, yeah, I like it, but I don't want it. You know?
yeah, you got to be very careful what you bring into your home, and also who you're interacting with on an everyday basis.
Yeah, and who you're dating.
True. I mean, it's actually really interesting how some people are super lucky and others are not. And, you know, I know people think that that's, you know, you manifest your own reality, your vibration frequency, but I don't think there's got to be more to it, because for those that are highly enlightened and such, they don't seem to have the same luck as some other people.
I think it's based on your karma. Like if you were pretty good in past lives and it's a way and you decided to come back, they're going to make a vehicle a little bit easy for you. But you also have to understand, this is why I've been trying to do this, and it's very hard to do. Think positive, speak positively. Like, I am wealthy. Don't say I want to. I'm like, I am wealthy. I am successful. I am is a very huge phrase. It means that it has happened already. And I think you can unlock some of that fortune and luck by being positive. Have you ever noticed, like, when one thing happens and you dwell on it, then something else happens and then it goes bigger, and well, take the philosophy and if you want to do something in life, let's say you're running late, right? And you're like, oh, I got to hurry up. Well, when you hurry up, you may be causing an accident. So if you're going to run late and it's going to be bad for you, right? It's going to be bad for you either way, right? Oh, this is going to suck. Just say, hell with it. I'm going to go get breakfast. Yeah. And go get breakfast. Because what's the difference if you're 5 minutes late and an hour late? You're still going to have the same problem. So you might as well turn that frown upside down. And sorry, I don't mean to do that, but it was an opportunity right there.
Now, affirmations are super important. And honestly, if you stub your toe first thing in the morning, getting out of bed, instead of cursing and being like, oh, this day is going to suck, be like, this day is going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah,
that's right. You got to be, because if you go that other well,
yeah, you're hopping and all of a sudden you hit your head. Ow, I'm having a great day today. And the lip gets open up. Yeah. You know,
you burn yourself making coffee. It's like, whatever. Great.
But what I think with these people that are very fortunate is that luck and that vibe and that feeling you have of winning the lottery. Life's great. Oh my God, it's so great. I'm easy, free. That begets more goodness and more luck. So if you know, there's the old saying of, you know, the feeling that you would get hitting $200 million lottery. You were like, oh my God, I'd be able to breathe. All my bills would pay. I wouldn't be really worrying about anything. It'd be great. I'd get myself into good shape and, you know, all that stuff. That's if you won. Well, actually feel that way now. And instead of trying to manifest it, the positive vibe of like, I feel that way now. I have a great life. I pay my bills. I don't have any problems. Blah, 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 blah. That will manifest your lottery win. But we've had a discussion while we were together where sometimes they don't let you win the lottery because you need to experience something in your path in order to fulfill a missing portion of something in your karmic life cycle. So, yeah, so it's frustrating. But sometimes some of these people, it's kind of like listening to tarot card readers online. They all start to say the same thing. So I've been trying to find out who the origin is. And I think I found out the person who said, you know, Saturn's out, so be careful, you know, like then the next person that would come up, you know, I'm channeling Saturn today and it may be a tough day for you. And then if you look at the people that follow them, it's all these other, you know, so if everybody's following everybody, everybody's doing a disservice to all of you.
Essentially like the news.
Yeah.
Everybody's following a script.
Right. When they said, you know, like they take that one group and then they put another camera up, another, and they have like 37 people saying the exact same thing, exact same cadence. Yeah. I love tarot cards. I have a whole bunch of them. I don't read them. I don't need to read them and I don't need to use them. I mean, if you want me to put a prop up, I can do that. You know, like I read moonshine bottles. Oh, this says I'm going to feel good today. Yeah. Ooh, positive vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting with the luck piece because I could give you a great example of that. Like years ago, my father, when he was alive, God rest his soul, but he was so lucky. He would just win like everything that he answered. He won like this limo ride to like a Nets game for, you know,
that's awesome.
A steak dinner. He won like a 1927 World Series jacket with the Yankees. Like
it was me.
Things, right?
Yeah.
And I never forget, we were actually over at my grandmother's and my dad's like, we got to drive home because they're going to be calling that I won the car from the church. And it was like, yeah, okay. So we drove home.
He said that?
He said that earlier in the day. And he said, we have to leave by a certain time because they're pulling this drawing. I think it was like 6 o'clock or whatever it was. And we left my grandmother's. And I remember they opened the garage door. I got out because like we couldn't get out of the car if you were in the garage because you'd hit the wall. So he'd always get mad if you hit the wall at the door. So
exactly.
First. So
right.
I hear the phone ringing. So I literally ran into the house, picked up the phone. This was before cell phones. Well, you know, obviously they had cell phones, but it was like the giant ones in the car that you had the Radio Shack commercial with like the USB case kind of thing.
Like you're calling an airstrike in, like, I'm popping smoke right now.
Exactly. It's like, we're taking heavy fire.
We're taking heavy fire. Yeah. Light them up. Yeah.
I run to the phone, pick it up. It's actually one of the people from up the street. They're like, where's your father? So I told my dad, I was like, hey, Patty's calling you. I hand him the phone. He won the car. It was actually under my mother's name, but he filled out the tickets for my mom. But yeah, it was just like,
so,
and
yeah, it's like, like how come that mojo couldn't rub off on me? The thing. So I was always very lucky. I won a TV set when I went out. I was winning things here and there. There was one place across the street from Frank Pepe's Pizzeria in New Haven, Connecticut. and it was a deli, and these two old guys were in there. And I go in always and get lottery tickets because you're waiting online to get in Frank Pepe's. And I'll scratch lottery tickets, and it's 200, it's another 100, it's 500. And I literally would walk through the door and they go, "Hey, Lucky's here." And they call me Lucky, like, whatever. And we played a game when I used to work on Wall Street called the Happy Friday Pool. So what you do is you take, like there's a lot of people at work, like a couple hundred people. So everybody takes out a $20 bill. You write your name on it. You crumble it up, put it in a paper bag. And then whoever the hottest woman working on that, would always pick it out. Every time I was the one that put it into the, for the people around me, like, here, put it in. I'm like, put it in. One of those people won. I mean, every time, to the point where I'm walking up and you can see people, I'm going to go to him first. And everybody, I'm like carrying all these crumpled $20 bills and I'm dumping them in, and they were winning. I didn't win anything.
Anybody wanted to rub your stomach or your head?
Yeah. Or something like, sometimes you were taking home, you were taking home at least $1,500 minimum. Other times, like, they really got, we went to multiple floors, not even with the same company, and like, like $2,700, $3,000 plus. It would be nice to say, "Hey, Bryan, thanks," and give me a 20 back.
Yeah, it's like, here's the money you're throwing.
But you know what? There's other ways of being lucky. Like, if your kids are healthy, you're lucky. I don't want to sound like my grandfather, but if you got your health, you got everything. It is worth $1 million, especially if you're hurt or sick. And I think our rainbow, like that moment of like, wow, this is great, is when we like fulfill what we need here, and then we transition up. And I am not, repeat, NOT, signing another damn contract whatsoever. And I will be there to watch over my daughters. And if you F with them, I'm going to take you out. No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about anybody else that wants to do that. So, yeah. But that's a good thing. A show that I want to do, and I don't know if you want to come on solo, because I'd have either one of you on or both of you on or whatever. I love you guys. I love you like brothers, because you are.
We love you too.
I want to talk about, it sounds crazy, love. I want to get some people on that are love related, like therapists, and say, okay, and have them. And there's a woman named, I think it's Emily Wilkins. She's on TikTok. She's really great. Long blonde. She usually slides in and she talks to the mirror. And I want to interview her.
Yeah, she's in New York, I think. So I remember.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try to reach out to her. There's another person that I just got. I follow him. And I kind of lost him because he went through everything we went through on TikTok. Count suspended. No reason. Ye old goth witch. And he talks about his Appalachian Nana doing witchcraft, things you can do. Not that I'm into witchcraft, but some of it's really clever. And he's a really cool, his videos are pretty cool. And I like it, and I follow him, and I'm like, I want to talk to you about, like, what was it like growing up with your Nana going, that person's an asshole, do this to him, boom, and see how it works.
Love that idea. I've had conversations with Alex where I've said I'd love to get some kind of sex therapist on, like relationship coaches, people like that as well, just because I think there's so many folks struggle in the world today, especially in relationships.
Yeah.
Like, even though we're more connected than ever, it's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
How bad life has become from that perspective.
Oh, I'm with you on that.
Her stories.
I mean, and it doesn't guarantee you're going to have much success, but maybe your eyes get opened up to enough to go, okay, so I was making the mistake there, but she was there. All right, well, I'll explain it, or I'll have her watch it and say, see, this is where we were. And maybe that fixes it. I want the best for people, but sometimes these things don't work out. And it's not like you don't love that person. It's just, you're not supposed to be with that. It's just, it ran its course and you'll always be there for them, and I love you, and, you know, whatever, but it's not your true love or whatever it is, you know.
Right.
You know, instead of it being, you know, like, oh, you're my soulmate, I'm like, you kind of like my sister. Yeah, and I don't have one.
But I think that's the other thing with soulmates. People think that a soulmate is necessarily always love. But I'm not saying there's not. I'm not saying there's not love between the person, but that doesn't mean that they're romantic interest. A soulmate could be a friend as well.
Yeah, it could, but and that's where you remember how your psychic said, well, they run out of energy and they don't have the long distance plan. I don't believe the definition of twin flames. I don't believe the definition of soulmates, and it's just this one, or you have 15 soulmates, but you have one twin flame. No, I think there is always somebody that is 100%. It's perfect. Both you know, A and B. They gel. Everything's great. It's finding that person, and that person may not be born now. That person you may meet, and there may be a 30-year spread between the two of you. You know, or they may be older and you may be younger. And if you're an older woman, that's called a cougar. You know, but no, it may actually be there, and you find somebody, and the problem you get is, and this is with on the women's side, what people like, well, this isn't going to look good. This doesn't look good. And it puts me in, I'm like, what do you care if it looks good to everybody else? How do you feel here? How do you feel here? I'm like, you know, I love it. And it's great. And so then I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. And if you get to that point where you don't give a shit what people think, you just elevated your game. Like, you know, go past go, collect $300 and move on.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing, because there's so many people, and listen, we're not talking about sugar daddy, sugar babies, that sort of relationship. You know,
that's nice.
We're talking about true loves and people that actually care for one another, not, they don't, but we know that's transactional. The thing is, in that scenario, it's actually really interesting, because you talk to some of the people that it's just like, well, I'm really into this person, but you know, the age difference, my parents are going to judge me. They're going to say, you know, why are you dating this older guy or whatever? And the truth of the matter is, it's like, listen, your parents aren't going to be around forever.
Right.
And it's like, you're spending your life with that person. So if you truly love them and their connection and they're a fit for you, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah.
Hard enough to find the right person in the world. So
exactly. But this would be a good conversation. Just to have people come on and, you know, Emily's point of view, because it's a woman's point of view. I used to have conversations like this with my female friends. Really tight group, you know, great fun. Like, these are people you hang out with, you drink with, you know, it's just like they're awesome. And they would tell you from their perspective. And it's important to understand it. But until next time, kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Bryan, I think we've kept you long enough. For, you know, we truly appreciate you coming on the show. It's been a fantastic conversation. Always love talking to you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we look forward to joining you on your show again.
Definitely. Yep. Wednesday
night at 8 p.m.
8 p.m. to 10 p.m. If it's a good guest, I don't like to stop them from being on. But yeah, that's what we do. So you're more than welcome on. I'm figuring out August is going to be a wash, because I got to do, you know, bring my oldest to college, and there's too many dates where I'm going to miss things. I probably have 2 dates, the 13th and the last day of the month. And then September, I'm good the first 2 weeks, but then I'm traveling to the conference I'm doing in Missouri, the Crossing Realms conference. Tickets are on Eventbrite. Go get them out.
Yeah, we can put the link in the description.
Sure, I'll try to find it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, we'll work it out. The only thing I would say to both men and women, before I leave, I mean, if you want to, you know, I would say just remember, spandex is a privilege, not a right. And
So true.
Yes, sir. And, it's like, don't wear that.
I'm just thinking of the Nutty Professor right now. Spandex.
It is.
Spandex. But
Corn cleansing. I'm sorry. We like to have fun. And like I said before, if I'm ever really, really serious, we're in trouble. So, yeah,
the world's ending, folks, if Brian's serious.
If I'm serious, we're in big trouble. But it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on, David, and us rebooting a little bit here to end it nicely. And to Alex, thank you again as well, brother. And I appreciate being on now 4 times.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate it. And definitely check out Brian's channel if you're into cryptids, UFOs, paranormal. I mean, it's just overall fantastic conversation.
Thank you.
I highly recommend watching it. And until next time, I am your host, Dave Ferrigno. We have Sir Bryan Bowden on, and I'll also say good night to all from Alex, who couldn't join us on the follow-up session because he had some prior obligations. But thank you so much for joining. God bless. Take care. Till next time.
That's it for today's journey into the unknown. A huge thank you to Sir Bryan Bowden for helping us shine light on the shadows. If you enjoyed unlocking a few mysteries with us, do your brain a favor. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell so you never miss a key to the next door. This mind-expanding adventure was brought to you by Thinkora, for when ordinary thoughts just won't cut it. Side effects may include spontaneous genius, historical name-dropping, and knowing more than your search history can explain. Until next time, be the torchbearer, keep the keys safe, and we'll see you inside the next mystery.